Hello, y'all. Hey, y'all. All right, we're back. Let me get Ivory back if I can. Hello. Hey, Mersey. Hey, Just Daisy. Hey, Nicole. Hey, Coco. Hey, Renee. Hey, Misbehave. Hey, Skittles. Hey, Teresa. Hey, Queen Tori. Hey, Christine. Hey, Mama. Hey, Miranda. Yo, I can never see Ivory. Oh, it says Ivory's not live yet. Hey, True Diva. Hey, Andy. Hey, Nicole. Hey, Jessica. I'm trying to scroll back. Hey, Rachel. Hey, Brenda. Hey, Tammy. Hey, User. Hey, Marilyn. Hey, Lindsay. Hey, Magda. Thank you for the gifts, y'all. Hey, Sheep. Hey, Simone. Hey, Holly. Hey, Megan. Hey, Karen. Hey, Laura. Hey, Mama. And Mary. Hey, Mary. It honestly, that episode was it was like everything we had already seen, right? I feel like we seen this kind of play out on social media. My Nate is actually pretty good. I feel like everything that we saw, we had already like there was no real no new content. I don't know if Natasha has been on any of them. Oh, I didn't see or hear that, Mary. But I wasn't, like, I stepped away for a second, so it was probably when I did stepped away. No. And the viewers have dropped tremendously. Laura, that's so funny. Every time you see Ken's hands movements, you think of me. That's hilarious. I heard there will be a season 3, but it makes sense. And the reason why I say it makes sense is not because her show is interesting. I feel like Lifetime has invested this much time and effort for the show to really bomb, right? But they do know when she gets off parole, she's going to crash out. And I feel like they are subtly, like very slowly exposing her. And I think that they feel like they invested so much, they just want to be there for the crash out. Yeah. Yeah, because even her last video was really a crash out when you think about it. First of all, how do you call other people evil and other women and you say, oh, these people are evil, they're bad people? I mean, you unalived your mom. That's pretty bad to me. I'm just saying. There's no, where is Ivory? But You know it's bad because Lifetime took her off primetime. Thank you, Mary. Like 8 o'clock Central Standard Time, 9 o'clock Eastern, that's prime TV. And they took her out of that section and pushed her an hour later. They're basically saying, we don't care, you know. Oh, the hypocrisy in this episode was insane, but I feel like it's Lifetime so subtly exposing her. Yeah, they pushed her slot back an hour. And they did it specifically because like she's not getting the views. That's the reality. Not getting the views. That's the reality. Is that better? Well, yeah, I saw that role model thing, but I think that was a paid actor, to be honest with you. Where is Ivory? Ivory has been on the show. They emailed me early during the summer about using my content, and I never responded. And I also did not make it very easy for them last time. Because they changed something and they were like sending me the contract over again after they already aired it, and that kind of like irritated me. So I was not very cooperative. Did a classy fashion icon. Not Gypsy being a classy fashion icon. Now, we already know that is a lie, Brittany. The lie detector test determined that Lisa, she did ditch us. The lie detector test determined that's a lie. Well, I really did not want to be on this season for several reasons, but one of the main things was last season when I was on it, they reached out to me in February, which was very early on. This is before I knew about the chromosome disorder, before I knew in detail about Nick, like to the magnitude that I know now. And then also, when it came down to it, Lifetime's not really holding her accountable at all. So I actually got much more than that. But I don't know if it's because I was the first creator that they reached out to. I'm not really sure of the details. But all I could say is that I didn't feel like Lifetime was holding her accountable this season. I also feel like felt like they were going to paint creators really bad. But I think that if I was a creator that was on it, they would have tried to kind of like seem like I was bullying her at first or something like that. Just because you know how Gypsy likes to spin stuff along with her family. Thank you, Lindsay. Julie only got $100. Wow. I mean, at that point, you might as well do it for free. Hey, hello, Mom. Nah, there's no way Gypsy's gonna get a residual for that show. The show was not even doing well to begin with. Residual what? Because who's really watching? After her crash out, nobody's going to be watching this. Oh, Aurora's... These people are so diabolic. She's... it's just... It doesn't make sense. Aurora's gonna have a baptism. Your mama say Santa coming down the chimney. Your daddy wants to be Caitlyn Jenner. And he's a homewrecker. And you're doing what? Like, what? Amber G, I don't know if... I think even if she got pregnant, it wouldn't keep the show going. I don't think she is religious, so to speak. I think it's all for show. I don't see her being pregnant making a difference on, because think about it. She was pregnant this whole season. Nobody's really watching. You know what I'm saying? Think about it. She's been pregnant this entire season. Nobody's really watching this season. Nobody. It's basically the creators and, like us watching. And you also, I'll put it this way. I bet you more people are watching the Karen Reed case. Thank you. It's just me. Thank you for the gifts, everybody. I'm sorry for not saying thank you. I think that, hey, CJ, I think more people are watching this Karen Reed case and so many other things. And this Karen Reed case and so many other things than the... I don't feel like it's happening. I don't think she got banned. And she did this to me last week. She left me on here. Not Gypsy used Pink Pony Club's song on her IG story. Y'all, the Karen Reed case is another beast. I mean, that case, listen, I'm just getting into it. And child. And it's so, the Karen Reed case is so much. And there's so many characters that it's kind of like you don't even know where to start. Like, or even where to even talk about. Because, okay, so I'm going to tell y'all about this case. And I'm just giving y'all, I'm prefacing this by saying that it is so insane. Okay, so Karen Reed was dating a police officer. The police officer was unalived, okay? Karen Reed, I don't believe is the person who unalived him. So they were drinking. They went to, like, I think 2 bars or something. And they went back to kind of like a house party. Everybody in this house party, they're cops or law enforcement. Law enforcement. Thank you for the gifts. Okay. Now, all of a sudden, no, I don't even think he got back to the house. But basically, he was out there in the snow, just unalived. Okay. When Karen Reed discovers him, she's taking off clothes and stuff, trying to keep him warm, trying to see if he's alive. But the owner of the home calls 911. She's calm as hell. When I say calm, she is super calm. And what I think was really weird, you know, when you call 911 and something serious is happening, like someone passed away or anything like that, 911 will stay on the phone with you. 911 said to try CPR and to call back. Why would 911 not stay on the phone when you already said that that person didn't seem like they were alive? Like, I feel like they were all in cahoots. Now, Karen Reed is the only one in this whole situation that's not law enforcement. Okay. So the 911 call was really, really odd. Okay. Now, the cause of death is blunt force trauma to the head and something else. I can't remember which one. Thank you. I appreciate it. But although it's like blunt force trauma, the cause of death is not homicide. Okay. So how do you charge someone with murder if it's not even like they're really saying they don't really know what happened? Get up here, Ivory. Are you able to come up here or you got banned? How do I get you up here? Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay.
Hello.
Ivory, yes, let's talk about it. So everyone's asking about this Karen Reed situation.
Yo, guys, if you haven't watched the documentary, you can see it on Prime Video. Body in the Snow. You have to watch it. And tomorrow I'll probably give you a list of creators that are like really on top of it. But let me tell you, guys, it's wild. It's so.
Wild is an understatement, Ivory.
It's. I went down a rabbit hole like there was never a rabbit hole. Okay, I'm still sliding down this thing, and guys, she's innocent, and I don't like her. I don't like her. She just seems too cocky and too. At first, I was like, I don't like her personality, but she didn't do it.
And if you don't like someone and you're like, nah, but they innocent, that should tell you a lot because low key, you like, well, if she was guilty, it'd be okay.
It's like you want it to be her, but there's no way. First of all, there's no way if she gets an indictment. I mean, if she gets convicted,
Well,
I'm
even
gonna.
that's what she was indicted on. Like they already said that it was a lie. So what they brought,
How?
the grand jury
Yes. How do you
brought the
sit in front
case
of a
over.
grand jury
Thank
and
you.
they lied? And now during the second trial, they're all admitting that they lied during the grand jury. How do you lie during the grand jury just to get the indictment?
And then you say, well, yeah, what I said to the grand jury, it was a lie. I'm sorry, my
I
bad.
didn't understand the question. I didn't know that's what he said. And I'm like, y'all are for real? Up here lying?
And I just find it so weird for someone to be charged with murder when the cause of death was never actually solidified.
We have to give them a story time and start from the beginning. Are y'all prepared for a story time? You guys want a story time?
Child, listen, when I tell you this blew my wig cap right back, this is insanity. You go ahead. I know you stay calling her Megan. You're on mute. Did I mute you by mistake? I can hear you, but I don't know if I muted you by mistake. Oh, try.
Oh.
Okay, can everyone hear her now? Sorry, y'all. I'm so sorry. Okay, I don't
So,
think
not
you're on
Nina.
mute.
All right, so they're all out at this bar, and this guy, I want you to remember the name Brian Higgins, okay? He's the ATF agent. They all decide, Brian Higgins asks Karen Reed and John O'Keefe, we're all going back to the Alberts house, right? We're all going to go back to Albert's house. Brian Albert is a cop. He is married to Nicole, who is Jen McCabe's sister. Jen McCabe's husband's also a cop. And a whole bunch of people are going to be there, right? So they all go back to this Brian Albert's house. Big cop, well respected, everybody knows him, right? Now, earlier that day, I guess John O'Keefe and Karen Reed got into a tit for tat. So they were driving drunk to the Albert's house. She drops him off and she leaves. Now, Jen McCabe, whose sister's house that is, remember, it's her sister and brother-in-law's house. She's standing at the front door. She sees them pull up. She sees them get out of the car. They're talking. Supposedly, she walks away. She supposedly starts texting John O'Keefe like, hey, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Nothing. John O'Keefe supposedly never showed up to this house. Jen McCabe said she watched him walk up to the house, but they said he never got there. She goes back to John's house with the niece and nephew. Now it's about 12:30, 1 in the morning. She goes to sleep. She's passed out, sleeping on a couch, waiting for him to come in. Niece and nephew said, yes, she was here. 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, she wakes up. John never came home. Now she's panicking. Where is he? She starts calling everybody. She calls Jen McCabe. She calls Kerry Roberts, the friend. Guys, I can't find John. John didn't come home. She was calling John, drunk as a skunk, leaving nasty messages. Where are you? You're cheating on me. I fucking hate you. You know, we've all had those drunk fight texts, voicemails. And she's leaving him a ton of voicemails, right? So now she's worried. Now she can't find him. Where is he? So Jen McCabe and Kerry Roberts said, we're going to come to you, and then we're all going to go look for him. So the three women, they pick up Karen Reed. Jen McCabe drives Karen Reed's car, and they're going to go look for the cop, right? Not the husbands, the cops going to go look for him, John O'Keefe. The girls, the women are going to go look for him, right? She drives, and Jen McCabe says, we're going to go back to 34 Fairview, the Albert's house, her sister's house. So they're driving back to this house. They pull up to the front. Karen Reed sees him laying dead in the snow, jumps out of the car, and runs over to him, and she's frantically panicking, screaming, help, help, trying to do CPR on him, the whole thing. Now, if you look at all of the evidence presented, she, the one who's on trial for murder right now, is the only one. She was down there trying to do CPR.
Rendered aid. Mm-hmm.
She was trying to lay on top of him to keep him warm because he was cold. Jen McCabe was in the car the entire time. Kerry Roberts got out. And you hear her being frantic, screaming. But what they didn't know was when she was pulling up to the house, Karen Reed called John O'Keefe's phone again. But when she saw John O'Keefe laying on that lawn, she dropped her phone. So when Jen McCabe was in that car, didn't leave the car, she's in the car, you hear the windshield wipers going. She doesn't realize that she's on the phone with 911. She doesn't realize that call is being recorded on John O'Keefe's phone because Karen left her phone on. Mm-hmm. So you hear her call 911. She calls 911. Now this is they're all friends. They testified that they love this guy. Jen McCabe calls 911, tells 911 There was a man passed out in the snow. He's unresponsive. Yes, one of the
Okay, so
ladies is
Skittles
doing.
said I think we saw this part. New evidence came in today that John's phone never went into the house. Remember we were talking about that when we were.
Yep. So, so now she's in the car. She calls 911. She said, yes, someone's performing CPR on him. It was Karen Reed. You hear Karen in the background screaming, are you going to help? She's screaming frantically, get me blankets, screaming, completely just frantic over her boyfriend. So then you hear, all of a sudden, the 911 operator was like, okay, well, if you need help, call me back. The ambulance is on his way. And then you hear her make a phone call, and I'm assuming it was to Nicole, her sister, mumbling about John's dead on in the lawn. So now the sister, Nicole,
Thank
is in the
you.
house with the cop husband. And I find it funny that these people never came out of their house to render their friend aid. He was a whole cop, and they never came outside with all this commotion and
Exactly,
stuff on.
Skittles. Yeah, they said no neighbors came out. That's and everybody's ring light on, like,
Their
in
ring
that
cameras, but
vicinity. Nobody's ring light was working that day. Make it make sense.
everybody thinks that none of these people had ring cameras. They did. However, they were just not on that day. Not the Alberts and none of the neighbors who, again, that's a big cop area. So a lot of the neighbors are cops. None of them had their ring cameras working. So there's no footage of
Right.
any of this. How convenient. The Alberts never came out. Never. They heard the commotion. The ambulance pulls up. Sirens. They never come out. None of the cops or EMTs ever knocked on that door and said, hey, do you know this guy laying on your lawn? He's dead. None of that took place.
And then again, the cause of death was not ruled as a homicide.
So then they go, Karen calls her father while she's still on site, right? And she's like, I just want to die. Like, she's heartbroken. Her boyfriend is dead, you know? And she's like, I want to die. They go and they have her committed. An ambulance comes, picks her up, and they take her to the hospital on a hold because they were concerned about her hurting herself. She gets out. She gets let go the next day and shows up to John O'Keefe's parents' house where everybody is. And they sit there and they're all looking at her going, you're the one who did this. And she's just like, I felt funny, I left, right? And then from there, it ended up that the story came about where because Jed McCabe saw her out there, he was standing there. The story came out that she had hit him with her car. And that now the man was 6 foot, 200 pounds. There was a spoiler on the car and a bumper. And supposedly he was standing in the back. He still had a glass, like one of those beer mugs from the bar. And supposedly she reversed into him and hit him. Now, she had to have hit him far enough for him to go flying where he landed up on the lawn of the house. And yet there was no hip damage, leg damage. There was no shoulder damage. There
Exactly.
was
There
no
would be
damage like
evidence
that.
on her car. There'd be like a dent. There'd be a something. There was nothing.
There were scratches that looked like dog bites and dog scratches on his arm. And they said that he hit his head when he landed, and that's where the trauma from the head came from. And then the glass shattered, and that's how the shards of glass got in his face. Now, that's not what I believe, but that's what their story is, that this happened. How did that car hit him so hard, it flung him almost 10 foot onto the lawn, but he had no hip damage, leg damage, nothing on his side, nothing on his shoulder. Now, when she was leaving that morning, she bumped into John's car. You can watch her on John's ring camera. She bumps into John's car where that headlight was cracked. Right? So they have that on the ring footage. However, there's hours of footage missing from John O'Keefe's ring camera. And then you see her leaving in the morning. You know what I mean? So you see her pulling in and then you see her leaving. And so supposedly the whole thing about it where there were no shards of glass from that taillight that they noticed that day. It wasn't until after the investigator, Proctor, who was shady as hell, had the car brought in. Now he lied about what time he had the car brought in to the police station. He goes in there. He's checking the car out. He goes back to the spot, and all of a sudden now there's shards of glass from that taillight found where his body was. Make it make sense.
Yeah.
There was never any shards of glass from the taillight on his clothes. It's
Thank
just,
you.
it is absolutely wild.
Yeah, the whole
You
thing is
have
just insane.
everybody testifying. You have EMTs, you have Jen McCabe. Everyone's testifying that she ran around screaming, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. However, it was never on any of the police car footage or any of the body cam footage. None of that showed that she actually
And
said that.
one was proven that they said that one of the witnesses said, the EMT said that she said that, and then it was proven by camera that she never even had a actual interaction with them.
With that EMT. But yeah, supposedly they had to snow blow the snow away to get to the pieces of glass, and then they found more days later. Um, you know what I mean? So it was just the collection of the blood in the snow. They put it in solo cups. It was just a really wild investigation. But tell me how no cop and no EMT knocked on the Albert's door and said, "Hey, there's a dead guy on the front lawn. Was he in here? Was he here? Did he slip coming out?" Like nobody questioned the Alberts that there was who owned the lawn that where the guy was dead,
Right.
and they never came out of their house to check about their friend who was dead. And then let's talk about the epidemic of butt dialing. A lot of people believe that he entered that house and that Brian Higgins, the ATF agent, had a texting relationship with Karen Reed. They were, oh, you're hot, back and forth, doing all that nonsense, right? So some people believe that Brian Higgins fought with him in that house. Okay? And something happened, and then they dragged him outside. They did have a dog named Chloe that was a shepherd mix. They had that dog for 6 years. And again, people were testifying saying that his arm looked like it was dog bites and scratches from a dog. His dog is known to attack people. And so they think that maybe a fight broke out. And then they dragged him outside, and then the dog came over. Now, was it Brian Higgins he fought with because maybe John O'Keefe found out that he was texting his girl? I don't know. But then there's also Brian Albert's nephew, Colin Albert, who was there, a younger kid who John, people are there. There's assumptions that John knew that he was well into drugs, a big, and that John didn't really like him, and that there was a fight with him because he had knuckles. His knuckles were all messed up, and that they fought with, John O'Keefe fought with him and they dragged him outside. However, people believe that he went into that house, a fight ensued, and they left him on the lawn afterwards to die. But it's just funny because there were, I think, don't quote me, but I think it was 15 butt dials from Jen McCabe
Yeah.
to John O'Keefe that night after, at the time that Karen Reed got there and then left, she called them 17 times and testified on stand they were butt dials. However, 17 butt dials, and none of it went to voicemail. But I personally think that when they fought with him in the house, they lost his cell phone, and that was her trying to locate his cell phone. His cell phone was found laying underneath his back. He was laying face up, flat in the snow.
Yep.
They stated that when they found him, his arms were flat down by his side, and his legs were straight. Now you're going to get hit by a car, get tossed 10 foot, and that's how you land. Perfectly anatomically correct. There's just so much. The Alberts, who own the house, not only did they get rid of that dog a couple of months later, they rehomed the dog that they had for 6 months. They re-cemented the basement floor and then sold the house. And then he retired. And I feel like he retired because he knew that if he got
Stayed around, he'd get banged up.
he'd lose his pension.
Hmm.
So it's just wild. The same thing, I mean, during the trial, they're all lying. They all lied during the grand jury. Um, you're talking about you have DAs paying people to cause social media nonsense and to have rallies outside the courthouse. Um, the judge, they asked the judge to recuse herself, and the judge had to go to her chambers for 16 minutes and ponder upon it. But if you knew that you didn't know these people, why did you need to think about it? The judge should have recused herself because supposedly Auntie Bev or this Bev Canone judge knows the Alberts, and they think that maybe that they had rented a house from her. Um, and then the judge's brother represented Colin Albert, the one with the knuckles. His father was in a vehicular homicide. He was drunk driving and killed someone. He served 6 months. He was represented by Judge Bev's brother. Now, recently during the trial, they allowed the supposed accusations of like trying to blame Brian Higgins and Brian Albert, but said that they could not question Colin Albert. The judge said that. And I think the judge said that they couldn't question Colin Albert because if he had to get the family lawyer, that's her brother. Then it's a conflict of interest, right?
Yeah, and she doesn't want to. First of all,
He
they
doesn't want to
asked,
recuse himself.
they requested for her to recuse herself twice, right?
Yeah, and she said no.
She said no. The first time she went back in her chambers for 16 minutes and came out and said no. Isn't that like wild?
Then you have the lead investigator, right? Um, he's texting cop friends about how pretty much, and don't quote me, I can't, I don't remember the exactly what he said, but roundabout it was, she's definitely guilty of this. We're gonna make sure she fries for this. Literally, he was fired. The lead investigator on the case, who also knew the Alberts and the whole cop
Mhm.
family,
Yep.
right? Then you have, remember Brian Higgins, the ATF agent who was there that night at both the bar and the house, who had that texting, you're hot with Karen Reed. A day before a formal letter went out for them not to destroy their phones, that man went, destroyed his phone, and then tossed it on a military base so it couldn't be found. A day before the formal letter went out. All of them are destroying their phones. It's wild.
Mhm. It just doesn't make
Then
sense. None of it makes sense.
and then you have Jen McCabe. Supposedly there was a Google search from her phone at 2:37 in the morning.
And she's on the
Now,
stand lying.
John O'Keefe supposedly got hit at 12:37. They found his body at about 6 in the morning. And at 2:37, Jen McCabe Googled how long to die in the snow, in the cold. But they're trying to say that she didn't. She Googled that at 6 in the morning at the request of Karen Reed, but the search showed 2:30 in the morning. And I think the FBI um, backed that and said it was absolutely done at 2:30 in the morning. And how would you know at 2:30 if the body wasn't found yet that he's outside in the cold? Um, it's just, yeah, it's the crazy, just the evidence is overwhelming that
Very
she was
overwhelming.
framed. She was absolutely framed.
And it's just so ironic that she was the only one that rendered aid, but she's the one that this is being pinned on.
She's on trial for murder. Yeah.
Yeah. When generally, even if you did do it or like manslaughter or anything like that, if you render aid, like it's not looked at the same way. Yeah,
So
they're trying to use her as the scapegoat goat because if they don't use her to be the scapegoat,
they're all going down.
they're all going down. I'm telling you, the judge, the Higgins, like
TFPs,
everybody's
the
going down.
investigator, the ATF agent, they're all going down
Right, and this is a new DA on this case from this
on the second trial.
this
Yeah.
just on the second trial. So think about it, that first DA, this DA, like they're, and when I say the people on the stand on Friday, there was two witnesses that like blatantly lied. The judge knew they were lying to the point that they couldn't even get through that one question. They had to stop twice to figure the details out.
Yeah, constant sidebars. Yeah, it's wild. My whole thing is there's too many people that know a secret. You can't keep a secret with a pact of 10 people. There's no way. And then you guys, you heard of Turtle Boy. He was the one who broke this whole thing out of the water about
Oh
the
yeah,
corruption.
Turtle Boy, y'all
He's
have
the
to follow him.
YouTuber. So yeah, go give him a follow. But he was a big, this is corruption, she's being framed. Um, and then you have other people being paid by the DA to cause, like, to have a whole, Karen Reed is guilty chamber. It's wild.
Oh wait, let's
Jen
talk
McCabe
about
bought her
the
a couch.
fact. No, but let's talk about the creator that the DA allegedly paid $1,500 a month to say she's not guilty.
To say she's guilty.
She's
Yeah.
guilty, I mean.
Yep. On social media, out in front of the courthouse. Yeah, it's crazy. Jen McCabe also bought her a sectional, supposedly.
Yep.
And that affidavit just came out recently. I don't know if it's real, but it's just all of the pieces in this is wild.
Yeah, that's why they need a guilty conviction,
Or they're all.
because if they don't, they're done. They're done. I mean, a lot of people are going to go down for this.
And it's well known for Boston to be corrupt.
Oh yeah.
It
Oh,
is.
so that thing we were talking about was fourth trial. That was Boston.
Which one?
That guy that had four trials?
Yeah, that was, yeah.
Yeah, that was Boston.
Yep. The defense is going to do the same thing with Turtle Boy. Yeah. Well, Turtle Boy was the one who brought it out of the water. He's been like a whole free Karen Reed thing since day one, though. He's the one who brought out the idea that, hey, this is corruption. Like, she didn't do it. It's just absolutely wild. But to be paid for that is crazy.
Yeah.
You
It's
have,
like, it's just wild. I mean, the more you see is the more questions you have, and the more confusing it is that they are literally hiding in plain sight.
yes. I mean, they're admitting to lying during grand juries. They're
Like,
all up there
out.
covering. I feel like everyone's trying to cover for this Colin kid. I don't know. I feel like Colin is involved.
Well, he has to be, which is why they're covering, because otherwise, why would they be covering for him?
Think about it. You have people coming in and out of this house all night long after 12:30, after Karen left. Coming in and out of this house all night long, and nobody saw a 6 foot, 200-pound man laying on the lawn. Granted, it was snowing in blizzard conditions, but still.
Right.
Nobody saw him. Then they're saying that if she was hit at 12:37 and his body was laying there at 12:37, well, the plow guy was like, there was nobody laying there at 2:30 when I came by. So it's wild. All of the proof that this is all, you know what I mean? You got Kerry Roberts. She was the third woman who was there looking for him that night that found him. And she's on the stand literally talking about, well, no, I lied. Unintentionally, but I didn't hear them say that I heard, because she was trying to say during the grand jury that she heard Karen Reed ask Jen McCabe to Google how long to die in the snow. And that's why she Googled how long to die in the snow. However, during the trial, she sat there and was like, no, I never heard it. I know it happened. Well, you don't know it happened because supposedly you never talked to Jen McCabe about it. So How do you know it happened? And you just said that you didn't hear her say it, but that's not what you testified at the grand jury. It's crazy. Guys, you
Very.
guys, what's my theory? I think that he went into that house that day. I think that,
No, but they're saying his phone never pinged inside that house.
well, it was obviously out front, so maybe they came out. People coming in and out all day. Maybe it didn't happen in the house. But I just feel like it still happened in that house. I feel like it happened in the house. Why did they change the concrete flooring? Why did they sell the house and get rid of the dog? I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like it
I
happened in
just
that.
don't think you could convict her. I don't see.
There's too much reasonable doubt. First of all, they don't even know if the
Yeah.
guy was definitely murdered because there's no manner of death. The manner of death is undetermined. So, I mean, I get they still can, but I don't understand how you try somebody. And she's being charged with second-degree murder, manslaughter, and leaving the scene of an accident that ended up in death. 3 charges. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. Now, if you thought that she backed up and hit him, how are you getting second degree? It's just wild to me that they went full force with those 3 charges when you don't even know the manner of death was homicide, and his cause of death was trauma to the head and hypothermia.
Now,
So
tell me that's not odd.
the car didn't hit him in the head. The car didn't hit him in the flat back of the head. So, and then when the jury went, I don't know if it was Thursday or Friday, they went to the house. They went on a little field trip, and the jury got to see the house. So they can see the actual distance from the front door to the actual spot in the lawn where he was, and it's not really a far distance. The pictures don't do it any justice because it looks bigger, but it's not really that big. And when they got
Yeah, the
there,
pictures are deceptive.
there was a big old rock that wasn't there the week before when somebody was checking out the house. There was a big old stone with the word Alberts on it laying right on the front lawn. And everyone thinks that that was planted there just to pull on heartstrings. I, however, think that that was planted there to make the jury think that it's always been there, and maybe that's where he hit his head when he was hit by the car, because it was right in front of the lawn. But that rock was not there last week because people have video driving past the house. There was no rock on the lawn. Make it make sense. So people are still planting evidence up until this day. I think it's wild.
Yeah, like the whole thing is just so bizarre.
There's just so much. The more you, the once you start Googling, you just can't stop. It just goes on forever.
Yep.
Everybody is guilty. Everybody's guilty. It's just crazy. So if you guys have not seen the documentary, and the fact, you know what gets me was the fact that it was never dismissed.
That too.
Because
And
the
there's
last
so
trial,
much reason for dismissal.
the last trial, the jury stated that they all found her innocent of the second degree murder. They all found her innocent of the leaving her at the scene of the crime. The only thing that they were hung on was the manslaughter charge. So I don't understand how they were able to recharge her with all 3 crimes again when that jury unanimously voted that she was innocent of 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like they should only have been able to pick up that 1 charge. I think it's manslaughter, I think. All I know is Karen should not have done interviews on TV. The jury's going to see different. I agree. She's definitely not likable. She is definitely very cocky. And I think she's cocky because she knows she didn't do it. But she comes across as she's not likable. And however, there's no way that you can sit down and speak about this case and not see reasonable doubt, in my opinion. All of it is reasonable doubt. You don't even know for a fact what killed him. Like, there's no way that they can find her guilty because of the amount of reasonable doubt. I mean, right from the beginning, the Googling, the cop never came out of his house to check on his friend who was dead on the front lawn. Make that make sense.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
They're saying that there were phone calls between Brian Higgins, the ATF agent, and the guy who owned the house, Brian Albert, that in the middle of the night, again, more butt dials. The epidemic of butt dials during this crime was absolutely surreal. Oh, it was a butt dial. He butt dialed me by accident, not because you were talking about the guy you murdered is on the front lawn. It's just crazy.
Yep.
There's
It's
just
just,
no way they
and
can convict her.
she's not likable. That's the thing, is people don't really like her. But I mean, I don't think she's guilty.
I don't like her. I don't. I think she comes off as very cocky. But I think that she knows for a fact that in her mind she sees it. It's obvious something's going on, and I think she's so just I didn't do it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that's why she comes off really cocky, and she's very. I don't like her, and I kind of wanted her to be guilty, but she's not even close to guilty. There's no way you can convict her and say that there's no reasonable doubt. None of it. None of it. There's reasonable doubt in every aspect of this case, from the broken headlight, the how he died. You know what I mean? The
Hmm.
injuries he sustained was some what looked to be scratches and dog bites on his arm is the only thing on that right side of his body that had any injury on it, other than
I
two
just
black
don't
eyes
still
and the
feel
headphones.
like I just don't feel like that's like solid or legit enough to. It's just, I'm gonna say this. This whole situation is so wild that digging into it, it's so much that it's you are just sitting there with all this information and not even quite sure how to like gather it together, because it's so like insane. From the 911 call to everybody that was in that house being affiliated with the police department, to all the ring cameras and the surrounding in that house and in the surrounding houses just so happened to not work that day, to um
Let me ask you this: if you showed up to your sister's lawn and your friend is dead on her lawn, and you don't know how the guy died, now they just showed up, he had black eyes, blood on his face, and he was cold. They don't know what happened to him, right?
right.
Wouldn't your first reaction be like, my sister is 20 feet away in that door? I would be running in the house, checking and making sure
Exactly.
my sister's okay. Is my sister
Exactly.
okay? Did something happen here? No one ever went in that house. No one ever questioned, no cop that showed up that night, no EMT knocked on that door and said, hey, do you know this guy? Do you know what happened? What are we treating him for? Anything. Nobody knocked on that door to ask him any questions. And that cop friend knew all of this. I mean, the sirens, the screaming, the lights, all the commotion on your front lawn. And you didn't, as a cop, go outside to check. You stayed in your bed. Wild to me. I don't get it. There's no freaking way. There's no way that happened. No way. And if your friend was laying dead on the lawn, granted you want to call 911, but let's be real, it's a blizzard. It's going to take him a minute to get there. You wouldn't go in and get your brother-in-law, who's a first responder, he's a cop,
Yeah.
and be like, come out, I need you to help me help him.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. That does not make sense.
You wouldn't run in the house and get some blankets to warm him up because he's obviously cold, right?
Exactly. Why?
Nothing. She sat in the car. You can hear the windshield wipers going when you hear them play John O'Keefe's voicemail from Karen Reed's call in that car. And you can literally hear Karen Reed screaming, are you going to help? She's screaming, Carrie, Carrie, Jen, like she's screaming. This woman was obviously distraught. No doubt in my
Exactly.
mind. She was the only one
Yeah,
who
because she was
sounded
like, "Are you
upset.
not gonna help?" Like she clearly seemed in distress. Like, and she was the only one in distress. Everybody else, first of all, if someone's dead on your lawn, there's no way you're not gonna go out there and like
Well,
it
not
just
even.
doesn't make sense. And you're law enforcement, so you're not a regular person that's never seen a death. You're not. And this is the man that they keep saying, "Oh, I loved him so much. I loved him so much. This was my friend." Like it just
Let me
doesn't.
let me ask you guys in the chat this. Do we have any first responders in this chat right now? Any EMTs or anybody in here who was one at one point or is one now? And only because I have a question to ask you if you are.
Okay,
Retired.
B said yes, me.
Yes, V. Okay, so I was also an EMT before I was a nurse, right? Now, everybody knows when you're a first responder, all right? When I used to work on the ambulance, I knew what dispatcher was going to be on that night because I always needed to know, did I need an extra person? Do you have someone as a backup? Like, it's going to be me. Hey, Dave, it's going to be me tonight. You always know who's dispatching. You always know what cops were on duty as an EMT. I always knew what cops were on duty that night. Who was going to show up with me? What firefighters were going to show up with me? Who's coming to back me up should something happen? I knew everybody that was on my shift. So I think it's funny that Jen McCabe called 911. Her friend, this I love them like family is what she testified to, is laying dead on the lawn. Okay, which I don't even think they knew he was dead yet, right? She calls calmly 911 and says, there's a man that's passed out in the snow. At some point, she goes on to say he's unresponsive, and then she goes on at some point to say, I think he's dead. Okay, not John O'Keefe, my friend. He's a Boston police officer. Because let's be real, we're all going to be honest. They're going to show up a little faster for a cop. So you wouldn't call them up and be like, listen, I got a cop out down here, passed out on the lawn. I think he might. You wouldn't do that. Just calmly, a man is just passed out in the snow. You wouldn't go tell him he's a police officer. He's a friend of mine. Nothing. And then,
Frantic.
if anybody's ever called 911 and you start CPR on somebody, even if you know what you're doing, because I've told 911 I'm a nurse, and they're still going to be like, I want to hear you counting. They're going to say, do you know how to do CPR? I will help you through it. Let's make sure you're doing it correctly. And what is one thing that 911 always does? They stay on the phone until they show up. 911 doesn't hang up and say, call me back if you need me. 911 stays on the phone with you until cops and paramedics show up. They told her, call me back if you need me, and they hung up the phone after she called 911. That's because, now again, her husband's a cop. They knew that dispatcher, in my mind. I believe that they knew that dispatcher. She knew who she was calling that night. Call me back if you need something? No. How about, are we doing CPR correctly? Do you have anything? Are there two people? Do you have a second person? Do you put the phone down, go help her? And again, when I was an EMT, we did dispatching once in a while when they needed it as some extra money. So I've dispatched and had to teach people to do CPR over the phone.
Right.
So how are you just like, oh, there's someone doing CPR? Oh, okay, well, call me back if you need me. What the hell is that?
Yeah. Never. Never.
911 never hangs up the phone. It's always wait until they get there. I called, someone was trying to break into my house a couple of weeks ago. They were in my yard, and 911 was like, no, stay on the phone with me until they get there. And I'm like, well, my husband, no, stay upstairs, and you stay on the phone with me until you see the police knock at your door. So I just randomly was talking to this 911 lady, like, and think my dog just bit him, but you know what I mean? We're not like, oh, okay, well, you call me back if you need me, lady. No, obviously I need you, I'm calling you. The 911 operator didn't say, does he have any medical issues that you know of? Do we know what happened? Did anybody see what happened? They didn't ask any of the assessment questions. And if you've ever called 911, you know they're asking you questions, right? You know, well, did you see what happened to him? Is he breathing? Does he have blood coming from anywhere? Does he have medical issues? Do you know him? Did he have does it look like he slipped on something? Is he bleeding from anywhere? Does he have a pulse? They would ask you all those questions if you're assessing the situation over the phone. But they didn't do any of that. It was, okay, we'll get somebody out there, call me back if you need me. Guys, that's not normal, especially in a city. Boston is one of the largest departments in the country. I only know that because my father was a fireman in another really large city in the country. So Boston is known for being one of the biggest. You're not hanging up the phone. It's not like they're not they go through these calls constantly. These people are used to this. It's not like some podunk town in the middle of nowhere where they get one 911 call every other day. So I just don't understand any of that. Like, even no one has questioned that 911 dispatcher, but I feel like that guy needs to be questioned because he did not handle that correctly at all.
Mhm.
And I think it's because they knew who it was.
Exactly.
And when you're a cop and you're an EMT, you know who's on duty, who's on shift, doing what job. You know. You learn after a while. You learn everyone's shift. Oh, it's 11 o'clock on a Wednesday. Dave's working over at dispatch, and you got, so and so at the firehouse, and you have. It's just it is what it is. So you mean to tell me, like, okay, well, just call me back if you need me? That was wild. And I think it's because if they kept her on the phone, what does the phone do? 911 records everything. So she had to get the hell off that phone because it would have recorded all the background noise. You're not, you know what I mean? Like, just like Karen's phone did. You're not going to help? We need blankets. Like, nothing. You go knock at the door, get some blankets, cover the guy. Is he cold? Do you guys have, I would have been ripping my jacket off covering somebody. Like, they did nothing. They did nothing. Karen Reed, all by herself, is laying on the guy to keep him warm. To the point where Jen McCabe was like, don't lay on him, honey. Don't lay on him. No, I get what she was doing. She wasn't laying on him to kill him. She was laying on him to warm him up. She was screaming for blankets, and you couldn't go knock at your sister's door and get some blankets. She kept saying, he's cold, he's cold. So it was just, it's absolutely, guys, it's
The
it's
most
just a
bizarre.
hole that never ends.
Hmm. And even with this information that you all are now hearing, like I am telling you, I have been mind blown over this for the last day and a half. Just stuck on how,
Yeah.
because it's pure insanity.
It's just crazy. I'm trying to answer some questions here in the chat. Hold on, sorry, I didn't mean to. The lady that drove her there was doing CPR. She was not. She was on the phone. She did not do CPR. It was Karen Reed who did CPR. Karen Reed had blood all over her face from it. And Jen McCabe did say that there were two ladies, but the other one stopped and didn't help, didn't continue. She started and stopped. It was just Karen.
It's just so bizarre. I'm telling you, like we watched Friday's trial last night, and then today we watched, I mean, not Friday's trial, Friday's court on court TV yesterday, and then today we watched today, and I just was sitting there like, what on earth?
Somebody explain to me why no one went and got the cop. Now we know from hearing John O'Keefe's phone, the voicemail that from Karen's phone in the car, that she called her sister in the house. So her sister knew their friend was dead on the lawn. Because you hear her saying, John is dead on the lawn. You still never came out. You didn't go grab your cop husband to go help? That would have been my first reaction. I would have ran out and been like, honey, let's go. He wasn't just passed out, he was dead. Or fairly close to it. I don't know, Lindsay, I don't know why the police didn't knock on his door. That's what I'm saying. Number one, as an EMT, I probably would have knocked him. Like, do you know this guy? Like, what's going on? But the cops should have investigated that. There's a dead man on your lawn. Nobody knocked on that door to ask questions. There's no video footage from the cops recording. There is footage from the cop cars and stuff. Yeah.
Not only that, so much evidence just went missing. They can't find it. The witnesses are can't remember their statements. Like when I say it is bizarre, like watching it play out is it's nuts because this is so it's like a case that's duct taped together and put to trial in hopes that the jury misses everything when the jury would have to be a group of 4-year-olds in order to convict her.
Yeah, Karen's lawyer is a really good lawyer. Alan Jackson, I
Oh
believe,
yeah,
was that
he's the goat.
he was the Kevin Spacey. He represented Kevin Spacey, and he's had a lot of big time. He represented a lot of big timers. So he's really good at what he did. What he does. The lawyers are awesome. And you know what's funny? At first, I questioned the fact that one of the a lawyer who was on the jury the first trial is now helping her lawyers out, sitting there with her on her team. One of the old jurors. It was a alternate. She wasn't in the deliberation room, and so yeah, I guess that's allowed too, which is, I think that's good.
Yeah, it is. It is.
She has to get
But there's
off.
just so much. And once it's when the prosecutor really goes in, not the prosecutor, the defense, I'm telling you it's going to be game over because just the recording, the I mean, think about it this way. If they were to get a guilty verdict, it would just be off of circumstantial and nothing solid. And that would be so
I'm
weird.
sorry. I want to answer this question from Brenda Lee. She said, "Are you guys saying that as soon as he walked in the door, they emmed him, and now does it explain his phone?" Now you got to remember this man was drunk. And you got to remember, Jen McCabe called him, I believe it was 15, 17 times. It was in excess. I think they were looking for his phone because he dropped his phone outside. I think he dropped his phone before he even got in the house. And that's why, when they couldn't find his cell phone, that's why Jen McCabe called him so much. Where's his phone? We can't have his phone laying in here if he's dead on the lawn. And I think they found his phone and shoved it under his body. That's what I believe. You know what I mean? Like, I literally started going down the rabbit hole just a couple of days ago.
Yeah, when you told me it's so much
But they didn't know his phone was silent when they were calling
together.
it. They wouldn't have known that. They would have just kept calling to see if they can hear it. They wouldn't have known it was silent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they said his phone, what, didn't move after 12:40, I think?
Yeah.
I think he dropped it. Going up to the house. He was drunk. Remember, they were
Yeah.
bombed.
Yep.
These people were drunk, and he was still drinking. He had the glass in his hand from the bar.
Yeah. It's nuts.
I don't think it was a planned thing. I think it was a fight that went wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. And they just had to cover it up, which is why nobody's able to really remember the lines and all that because it wasn't something planned.
Right. Someone said, yeah, but your phone still shows from satellite if your phone is moving. Phone did not move after. Yeah, but not in a matter of 5 feet. Your phone is going to still ping from the same satellite whether you're 5 foot away or 10 feet.
Exactly.
If
Yep.
he dropped it in the yard, and it stayed in the yard, it wouldn't have moved. And his arm did not get cut like that from the vehicle. I agree, Amy.
No, that's impossible. And for her to not have any damage on the car, for him to be so, like, it just, none of it makes sense.
Now remember,
First of all, how could it be considered uh from a car accident? Like, when you really think about it, that's just a guess because the report doesn't even state that.
yeah.
Like, when I say this whole thing is duct taped together, that is just the best way to describe it.
A matter of 5 feet, it would show that it moved. Because what I think happened is he was drunk. You got to remember, Karen Reed was calling him, leaving voicemails. Remember, I think he tried to pick up the phone. I think he dropped it in the snow, and I think it was a done deal after that. He couldn't find it. He was drunk. I don't think he walked into that house with his phone.
No, I don't think so either.
They found his hair on the broken headlight. The pieces or the actual headlight? So you mean to tell me he was standing and got, what was he, bent down, and
But wasn't the headlight not originally broke when she left there?
there was a bumper and a spoiler. So that headlight would not have hit his head. On interviews, different things. Yeah, she was drunk. I mean, the woman was intoxicated. Exactly. All of the blood was put in solo cups from a cop's house, never sealed, in a paper bag from the store. I don't know. He could have been. Someone just asked, was he crawling? He could have been, because you got to remember, I believe that
He
dog went after
definitely
him.
could have been. He
The dog was
definitely
out
could
in the
have been.
yard. I think the dog went after him. And that's where he got and again, that's where he got that on his arm. It looks like he put his arm up to defend himself. He wasn't originally dead. I think he was just on his way out.
I
Or
1000%
in his
agree.
head, maybe he chucked his phone. Maybe he was pissed off and tossed it. That's a possibility too. But I don't think he ever went in that house with the phone. And I think all the butt dials that Jen McCabe said she had was them looking for the phone.
Yep. Yep.
Picked what up and hit him. It was an accident. I'm trying to see if Brenda Lee had I think he was standing outside the car. They were arguing. He dropped the glass. He went to pick it up, and she hit him. So she hit him. If he bent down to pick it up, and she hit him with that car enough to toss him onto the lawn, well, where's the rest of the damage to his body? If the car hit him hard enough to toss him 10 feet to get up on that lawn by the flagpole,
Yeah, he'd be
where's the
harmed
rest of the
everywhere.
damage?
First of all, he would have landed on his ass something brutal. Let's be so for real.
He would have more injuries and not just to his head, correct?
Yes.
That's And I do know that one of the jurors spoke out a couple of days ago from the first trial, and he was a medical professional. I don't remember what he did, but that was one of the things that hung them for that manslaughter charge. Was like the injuries did not add up to what they said happened. There was no bruising, there was no broken bones, there was no none of that. Scratches on his arm and the back of his head. So, and for a car to hit him that hard, to toss him from the street up into the lawn by the flagpole, 10, 12 foot away, I don't remember how many feet exactly, but you have to hit someone pretty hard, right? It would be more than just some scratches on the arm, and then they're saying that he landed and he hit his head. There would be more damage, I think. My grandson was hit by a back of a car, and it put a knot on the top of his head, but he survived. So he was hit and flung 10 foot, though? Was he hit hard enough to fling 10 feet, and all he had was a bump on his head? I just feel like, to me, if you're hit at a speed fast enough to knock you 10, 12 foot, they're saying that he had to go flying in the air,
And he
Yeah,
would have had way more injuries.
John was 6 foot tall, 200 pounds, I believe, around there.
I don't want to see.
It just doesn't make sense. But all right, Ivory, I really have to get some rest because I have to get the kids up in the morning and I've been struggling because I haven't been getting sleep.
Yeah. All right, guys. Good night. Get some
But thank
rest.
you for watching.
Talk
Thank
about
you,
this more
Ivory,
tomorrow. No
for
problem, guys.
joining.
Night.
Bye, everyone.